At the edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Hey guys, no tunnel run today, but this is a really special show to us. This is the first show I can remember in maybe since we started it or pretty close to it that like Dave Porter's not here, like with the first comment saying hello and getting us ready to go. I would love and appreciate everybody who watches out there, whether you watch live or on the internet or wherever. So we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna talk about Dave, but you know what? Dave was among many things, a huge Star Trek fan, a lover of Star Trek and a lover of this show. And he loved talking about Star Trek and having fun. So we're going to try and do that too in his honor. Let's bring in, if you're going to have fun, it's good to have a captain. Bring in the captain. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Dan. Yeah.
And
good old Dave, huh?
Yeah. Well, and let's bring in Dr. John, another friend of old Dave. Dr. John, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you? How are you?
Well,
I firmly believe Dave's first thing today would be complimenting John on his haircut.
Absolutely. And I want to compliment Dave.
I'll take it.
On what? So he provided so much, like right down to the logo. Now that we just started adopting this thing recently, and I made a 3D version of it. We use it for transitions, and we're gonna wear it, and it's firmly a part of the show for now and forever. So thank you, Dave, for like cluing into the vision of sort of like what this show is sort of about. It's about Star Trek for sure. But like he understood that we're bringing a lot of other weird stuff to the table, just like he did.
You know, the cool thing about Dave is he got that we're all a crew, right? And so if somebody on your crew has something that they need some help with, Dave was the first guy to pitch in. And if I remember this right, we were talking about Lucille Ball, and you just made this offhand comment about like Arrowhead with a Desilu D. And like hours later, he's sending me the 3D files, and you go, hey, can you keep this quiet? Do you think John and Dan would really like this? I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, yes, we love it, Dave. And he would do that stuff without thinking about it. I can't tell you how many projects he helped me out with. But that was his thing. He always just like, if you were enthusiastic about something, he got enthusiastic with you and helped you out.
He was the only guy who was ever impressed by my floating satellite tricks and all my little trickery. Cause like he did a show on green screen in full costume. If you haven't checked out Dave Porter's YouTube channel, you should. I'll try and get a link and add it to this thing too, because you can see a lot of what he was laying down was like, I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's like a Captain Fun type. He's of your ilk, Larry, for sure. I can see why you guys were friends for so long, because he had not just passion and love like for Star Trek. I'm going to pull John out until he comes back. But then he had all these technical skills and artistic abilities and creativity and ideas and stuff that he was like bringing to the table for himself, taking it to cons, bringing it to shows, doing YouTube videos, the whole thing.
He is very involved, man. Very involved. And that's why, I mean, forget that he was a good guy. And I just can't imagine how his family feels. But like the rest of us are like missing a part of our community, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's a bummer. But anyway, Star Trek.
Well, I'm glad. I was trying to tell you guys, I'm up to speed. I did watch the musical episode again. I fell asleep during parts, and my wife told me I would just wake up every time they burst into song, and I would just be disgusted. And I was just like, what in God's name? How? And I would cringe myself back to sleep.
Can you imagine? That's what you wake up for, is the shittiest parts of that episode.
Well,
That's
because
hilarious.
that's the biggest problem I had with it, was just that the songs weren't that good.
Not
And
with
they weren't-
you.
And they weren't memorable. If they were great songs, if there was a killer musical number, even one. I mean, the Klingon one was hilarious, and I loved it. I would say that to me was the only ear, and the earworm joke was kind of funny too.
I really liked Nurse Chapel's thing. That was a cool, like, hopping kind of. They start off with Anything Goes, so already I'm at like Temple of Doom level. If you start off with Anything Goes in an action show, you better make sure that the rest of your stuff is like, you know, hey, Indy, I'm going first, and throw me the diamond, I'll give you the antidote. You better hope it's all that good, and it really wasn't. I didn't like any of the songs.
Yeah, none of them quite did it. A little too auto-tuney, a little too. I almost would have preferred they broke out into like appropriate, like real songs or something like that. But
Well, they were all the same, right? That's what I didn't like about it. And
Yeah.
like, you know, Broadway shows take years to write. And they did this in I don't know how long, but it was less than a year. And what they have, 7 songs. They have a soundtrack album with the original cast. Those songs can't be perfect in a year. That doesn't work. And it was less than that. So you get one good song out of the 7. That's about right, if you ask me. And all the other ones just sound the same.
Yeah.
Yawn. Anyway,
speaking of yawn, what about Dr. Yawn? Dr. Yawn, I know you could barely contain your disgust. I've heard a little bit. But how did you feel? Give us the real deal on Once More with Feeling. I mean, whatever this one was called.
Dr. John is about to slaughter his Wi-Fi connection. So
We can hear you though. We got you.
yeah,
Can
you're
you guys
good
hear
for
me?
now.
Is that-
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay,
We
good.
hear you.
Yeah.
We hear you great. Well, but so give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, something, John. Give us something.
Right until the end there, we heard.
Yeah, we must have just lost it. I wanted to let me see if I can guess. Well, what I thought was a lot of the criticisms out there, that I'm seeing, so kind of like miss the point. What I like about it is this is an outreach episode. So this is one that you watch with your wife, who's absolutely not a Star Trek fan, and maybe she could get into it a little or something like that. That's the best spin I can put on it, I guess.
The Lower Decks one is the outreach one to me. It starts as a cartoon. It has cartoon guys showing up. You don't have to be even aware of what Star Trek is outside of, oh, right, that's the show from the 60s. The Spock has ears and stuff. You get what they're doing in that episode.
I guess, but it's so much richer if you get the references,
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're not going to get any outreach episode. You're not going to get who the characters are, any of the references. You're just going to be entertained. And I don't think musicals are all that welcoming like everybody else seems to think so. Like, who's coming back for more Trek after seeing the musical? Like, I'm with John on that one. I did, and also this one. Can I just throw this up?
Yeah, I was just about to.
I'm so with him on that one, 100%, because I get it. Even if you have to do that, just say I'm the A shift officer or whatever, because maybe you're a Lower Decks guy and you don't know who Uhura is, but you can't say many of you may not know me, because John's right. She's the fucking A shift comm officer. Like they showed in that episode, she's like doing the switching like the old days on Agent Carter, right? So stuff passes through hers. At some point, you're going to know who she is. I get it if you're Epsilon shift or something, because you're sleeping when she's doing her stuff. Maybe you don't interact with her, but you can't go, hi, nobody knows me. I'm the reason all African-American girls got into NASA in the 70s. Now, why would you know who I am? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought.
There he is.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, so much better.
Captain John
Okay.
coming from Mars. He's wired up some Pathfinder Tonka truck, and we're coming for you, Watney.
Okay, I hope that Wi-Fi connection is fireproof because we're ready for some hot takes, John. Give us.
Yeah. So you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, fuck Strange New Worlds. It's getting to Discovery levels. I mean, it really
Wow.
is. It's pretty ridiculous if you ask me. I mean, the entire concept of a musical episode should have been laughed out of the room right away. And I know I've seen a lot. First of all, I will give them credit. It's possibly the best reviewed episode to date. Although I do wonder how much of those positive reviews are just people trying to not get in trouble. So
they're
you know,
afraid.
I know I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh, TOS was goofy and TOS did blah blah blah." TOS was not a comedy. TOS was not a parody.
This
of
show
itself.
this show is a comedy show.
It basically is. It's a dramedy, if nothing else.
It definitely is.
It's a parody of Star Trek. It's more of a parody than the Orville ever was. Orville was, you know, not the biggest budget those first 2 years, but at least it had like serious plots and serious characters and everything. I mean, this is a joke. It's a joke. We're watching a joke.
What was the third gimmick episode? Spock with emotions.
Round ear Spock.
Yeah, the Spock emotion episode.
Yeah.
That was
no.
definitely
I
a
thought that was
gimmick.
okay, but
mean,
I did feel like they were kind of leaning on the comedy way too much, a lot, which I had a feeling they were going to, just because of the glee that, no pun intended, that
I was going to say like
that Anson Mount puts into his character. Like, he loves doing every episode he's mincing in some way, like either literally or figuratively on the screen. Like, I could not believe in the Mbenga episode when he's asking Mbenga for like medical grade parsley for his cooking. Like,
ridiculous.
So I think you could have gotten away with one of these in one season would have been enough for me. But I thought both were down to execution. Lower Decks was funny, and this one, I don't know. The Klingon thing at the end is pulled it. If they didn't have that at the end, I probably wouldn't have much positive to say about it.
See, I hate that, but it's because I'm older than you. They made the armor gold, so those guys look like fucking Starland Express.
That's what's so great about it.
No, see, but
it should have been an opera.
Fucking exactly.
Okay.
Anyway, this is what I'm saying about the music is that they have to do each one of those songs had to be a different style.
Yes.
And why that wasn't a Klingon opera, I don't fucking know. But that's why I liked Chapels, because it was a cool rockin' bar number, right? And they were in their bar. Okay, so that one, I like that one. That's the kind of shit that you have. And George Kirk is slamming around. I don't even know that actor's name, Dan something. I have to learn it because that guy's making me hate a nothing character. and I just think that's awesome because I hate him because they only use him as a foil for Kirk, who was supposed to love. Except I hate Kirk. And what is he fucking doing in this show?
Why is Kirk in every episode?
Yeah. But I kind of like George. He's growing on me, or Sam, or whatever they call him. He's kind of growing on me, but it's just so weird that he's such a minor. Like, he's really not he's not on every episode for sure, right? He's only like here and there. They pepper him in.
You know who I want to see? I want to see Kevin fucking Riley. I don't need to see George Kirk on the Enterprise. Give me some fucking wackadoodle like yeoman cult, right? And she just like loves like Ortegas, and that's like a problem for them, and that's a running joke through the show. I mean, just fucking do some science fiction for a change, right? Like, oh no, just let's.
I thought the like heavy metal to me was the obvious choice for the Klingons, but almost too obvious, too on the nose. I loved the boy bandness of it is great, and because there is there is a sexual thing going on with the Klingons, and this whole show is about the sexual attraction. We're going to mash up. Kirk wants to have sex with Khan, so they created this thing. That's what they're doing here.
You're gonna make me hate the show like my name is John Price. I'm like, yeah, you guys all have really good points. This show does fucking blow. Like my own wife is like, how come Captain Pike never shoots a phaser? Like, that's all she wants to see is that fucking manly guy going, you know what I mean? How come they can't give that to us? I don't understand.
Because he is the anti-Kirk, as I've been saying.
I don't want an anti-Kirk.
This show exists not necessarily to pay homage to the old series. It's to pay homage to the Uhura from the old series, but everything else was kind of like Kirk was sketchy. Like he's not a figure to be admired, or he was not a good leader by today's standards. He didn't
want today's standards in my Star Trek.
I agree with this. I agree with that.
Like, what are they fucking doing? It's, you know what they do?
Yeah, they're definitely trying to rewrite TOS.
It's like,
it's stupid.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just not going to think about it anymore.
Here's what I wish. I actually like Sam Kirk being involved, because if you're going to if you want to do something with Kirk, do that. Bring in Sam Kirk and play off the differences between the brother and what Kirk is like. Then you can have fun all day long, because Sam Kirk, he doesn't have a character. We don't really know him. So you can make him the goofy version of James T. Kirk. But then they're bringing in the goofy version of James T. Kirk and his goofy brother, and they're just kind of goofing up the screen together.
I thought it was really clever in the first season when they're like, oh, bring Lieutenant Kirk up here, and it was Sam Kirk. I thought that was a pretty clever, like, okay, all right, fair enough. And I do like that he's goofy. He's got his goofy little mustache, whatever. All right, that's enough. We don't need James Kirk. That's the whole point.
This is what I think too. I totally agree with that.
And I hate the fact that they're just blatantly giving the middle finger to the entire concept that Kirk didn't know Pike. Kirk and Pike are not friends. They're not like BFFs.
Yeah, right. Yes.
They're like, no, he was like, yeah, I met him once when I got the ship, and that was it. That's it.
That's part of the problem now with people writing, is that everybody has to be related to everything. It's like,
fucking kidding.
Space is vast, man. There's fucking 300 ships over there. You gonna tell me everybody knows everyone? Like, come on.
Yeah, you sound like
Uhura's introducing herself to her own ship.
That's what Steve.
That was ridiculous.
That was the legend that Steve Ditko quit because he's like, no way would Green Goblin be the father of his Peter Parker's friend. Yeah, that's too great. It's sometimes for dramatic purposes, you got to go there, though. I mean, I just think they layered on.
Sure,
you're allowed to have one layer of that stuff, but dude, they smeared it on really thick in like the Bible of the series. They didn't add a little layer here and there throughout the seasons. They're like, they started it off with like, here's fucking Connie Jr. You know what I mean? Like right in your
insane. Absolutely insane.
So the ham-fistedness, but in spite of that, I think the series is pretty well acted, pretty well written. I like the effects, and I'm going to say 70% of the stories I've thought were pretty okay. And I think that's a pretty okay track record.
I'm just glad that I don't get up in the morning and I'm upset about what happened to Star Trek, because I'm with you. If you got to put numbers on it, yeah, it's a 70% their show. So that's better than the fucking steaming pile of shit that we had to eat for 5 years. So I'm good. Yeah. Hey Lacan. Lacan wants to know if we're atheists and Klingon sex and what our roles would be on humanity's Enterprise.
All good questions. All good questions.
You know, I used to be an atheist, and now I'm the opposite. I believe in all of them. You know, like a pantheist, like almost. You know what I mean? Like I believe, and it was not to get too serious, but
why not?
Alan Moore, who said, you know, the one place where gods are real, undeniably real, is in our brains. And that's where they are like incredible in all their grandeur and monstrosity. And like, that's what I believe. Gods are fictional characters that really live in our brains.
It's true.
All stories are true.
It's very true.
I love it though when Thor and Odin, that's just Norse mythology, right? But God and Allah, that's a religion.
Yeah, totally.
And everybody yells at me because I worship Captain Kirk.
Well,
Fucking-
it's
The
funny.
fucking
the
original
word-
Captain Kirk, not this fucking pansy Captain.
The word mythology is from a French guy in the 12th century, and it basically means made up or false religion.
Huh.
So it's like, well,
Huh.
everyone knows that Christianity and Catholicism is the true religion. So we're going to come up with another term
That's
for
awesome.
all of
I didn't
these
know
other
that.
religions.
That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, it's fun.
But you know, like to guys like us, that's basically like saying, you know, I know Superman and Batman aren't real, but can I talk to you about my Lord and Savior, Spider-Man?
right, right,
Really,
right,
really good relationship with his street level stuff, man. So,
right,
you know, it's like it's all fucking stories, and like, what's your
Yeah.
story?
Yeah.
My
And
story is I get
I
to
don't-
dress like this.
Now again,
I talk to my buddies on Tuesday.
I'm a folklorist. I deal with this stuff, you know, every once in a while, and I just like people get real touchy when you're like, well, you know, your version is also just made up, and it's like, no, well, mine's the true one. I'm like,
Right?
is it?
Is it,
Is it? I don't know.
dude? I'm gonna screen grab that look on your face. I'm gonna use that as my Facebook thing because that's exactly how I feel. Like, really?
Well, it's
Yeah.
so funny. It's so funny that
Whatever.
the constant rebooting of old nostalgic properties. It's like it was like when the Romans rebooted the Greek gods and gave
Oh, yeah.
them new name and just kind of took the stories, made them more modern, changed the sensibilities a little bit. Like that's what they're trying to do here.
That's awesome.
And I think,
Yeah.
and I
Zeus has
think
a sister now.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really
Exactly.
surprised that I see so many all these super positive reviews. And then I read the reviews though and I go, it's so positive that it's like this is just because this is a drama geek's wet dream. So like
Yes.
that, and those are the people
Yes.
that write for Gizmodo or whatever,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. You hit the nail on the goddamn
Making me
desolate
hate it.
head.
I
Yes.
hate
It's,
everything.
it's like if you are a drama geek, this is a perfect Star Trek episode. You know, it's just the weirdest thing.
Isn't it funny that they tease us with Scotty, but they have fucking blown their Kirk load all over us like multiple times now?
Fucking Akiva Goldsman, dude. He is the fucking worst. Ugh. Anyway,
I have to say, I did go and watch all his Ready Room stuff because I couldn't believe. He sounds like he's saying all the right stuff, but man, if you listen to his answers, it's exactly that. It's like, yeah, I've processed Star Trek, but not like the way everyone else has up until now. I'm processing Star Trek like a guy who thinks Star Trek should be a soap opera for boys. You know, and it's like, okay, I kind of get that you think that, but like soap opera for boys doesn't mean soap opera. Right?
no,
It
in one action adventure show, like,
Right.
What?
soap opera for boys is punching and shooting and scooting and shooting. That's what my kid calls it. There's no scooting.
There was
and
that.
shooting.
There was that one episode. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was the one episode where like Pike went down and they solved the mystery, and like it got terrible reviews. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is boring." Whatever. I thought it was the best goddamn episode. Of
That was the
whole damn show.
realest. That was the most
You know-
Star Trek-y episode.
Absolutely. And everyone and all the reviews are like, "Oh, this is boring. This is boring, and it wasn't good." Like, I think I'm just out. I think I'm the polar opposite of what New Trek is. Like, New Trek is over here, and I am 180 degrees over here.
And they did the homage stuff just right, I think, in that episode, right? There was a nod
Yeah.
to the age, kind of subtle, a little bit of in jokes, but then basically a pretty by the numbers kind of Star Trek plot. But I think
Yeah.
that's what we needed. Unless one less all wacky comedy episode and one more really Trekky episode.
More Star Trek.
I really think that they were looking at their episode schedule and not their season schedule. Because
Mhm.
if you know you have 10 episodes and one of them is a Lower Decks crossover, what the fuck are you doing comedy in any of the other episodes for? You're
Yeah, well,
blowing your
yeah.
load in that one.
That's what I mean.
And then now we have to. Speaking of soap opera, now they have to end up like we give a fucking shit at the end of 10 episodes where it's an Aliens Gorn reshoot, except with
Oh my
added
God.
Captain Side Piece McMurray is in trouble. So we got Captain Pike crying about that. It's like,
Do you think she's gonna die?
I
think she's
hope
gonna-
so, because
I think
that's
so.
exactly what soap opera assholes
Yep.
that write 90210 would do.
Yep.
Because why fucking make
Oh.
the guy have like a fucking adult relationship for once?
Are we talking about Pike's
Yeah,
wife?
yeah.
The other kind. Yeah. Oh, that'd be great if she died. We need more because
No, no, dude. You need that girl in the cast because they're not, because she's 100% internal conflict. Like the
Mhm.
rest of it's just going to be jokes all the goddamn time. No, can you
Yep.
imagine Captain Kirk's love of his life is another fucking captain who's in love with her ship? Holy shit! Give me that show. Not even an episode. Give me
Okay.
That'd be great.
show.
Okay.
Because
I would. Yeah, that would be great.
Well,
I-
let's just do Gorns and then kill her because
one of
yeah,
I mean one of
time
our
in 10 years.
consistent complaints about this show is there's not enough goddamn Pike in it. You know, Pike is only in like 3 minutes of every goddamn episode.
He's so barely in it. He
He
almost
spends more
crazy.
time cooking than he does being a goddamn captain.
Yeah, it doesn't. It and like yeah, and then we even got dead characters in here. Like Hemmer was in that one episode more than Pike was in that episode. So Chris, you guys saw the trailer though for the 10th episode.
I did.
So I thought immediately the first thing that came to my mind is how is Larry not insane about the whatever that armor? What are they wearing? What's going on there, Larry?
Well, that's the stuff from Discovery, so I already hate it, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
Is that like combat gear or something?
yeah, that's their
Yeah.
tactical stuff, and it's stupid. And looks atonal. Doesn't look like anything you would use in Star Trek.
I heard this too.
Anson's wife had a baby. Explain their that's exactly
That's
what
great.
happened. But you know, my wife had a baby, and 5 weeks later, I was at Comic-Con.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
You know, I'm not that I'm saying it's a same level of commitment or anything. It's
And
just
it's
that
all
you got a job, and you know you had a baby. Well, everybody has to go. You know, Steve still has to do the oil changes. You know, maybe he's handing out cheap cigars to the buddies in the oil bay, but you know, like who gets to go? Oh, I'm just not coming in because I had a kid. No, dude, you fucking suit up and you explore the fucking strange new world. Jesus
I love
Christ.
it.
What
I
the
love
Goddamn
it.
captain.
That's right. For the captain.
Captain of the goddamn Enterprise.
I will say
Ridiculous.
I need a scene of him like with his Enterprise shirt on, you know, but his pants and his boots up in his fireplace, reading a copy of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, because that's all that fucking character does. Jesus. I hate that green jacket too. I said that this morning. Fuck that green jacket.
Oh,
That's
why does the green jacket have 2 arrowheads on it? Have you noticed that?
I did. Are you kidding? I saw that the first
green
thing. Going,
jacket
well,
has-
that looks
It
idiotic.
has one at the belt and
Yeah.
then one up here. You know why? Because they
See?
think the audience is stupid and they're like, "Why is there no one up there?" It's like, no, it's a fucking green jacket. It's only supposed to have one down by the head. Like
I
what?
get the thinking though of the costumer because one's a communicator and one's a style piece. That's her answer. Except
But they're
except
not
it looks
communicators,
wrong. It looks wrong, aren't they? I
and
guess
they're not communicators.
Yeah, they're
'Cause
not. Yeah, what's
gonna
the
buy
point of
one
that
for
then?
having a communicator?
Yeah,
There's no
alright.
point.
Throw it out. Good luck.
There we go.
I can't believe I can't
Serious
get that,
selling service.
that jacket from the Starship Captain from The Cage, that brown one with the cool thing. And I
The
talked to my
thing,
lady.
yeah.
I'm like, hey, can I commission this? And she liked it, but I didn't hear yes or how much it's going to be. I'm like, I gotta have that jacket, Edna. Come on.
So I got 2 things.
Gotta
Here.
learn how to sew, motherfucker.
I got 2 things. One,
Right?
Okay, Gorn. This is going to be my make or break Gorn episode, and it might be my make or break for the season of what my score is for the season, because they could give us. This is a good chance to give us. This is a brand new enemy, like the big baddie for the next season, I'm sure, and they've been set up as the big baddie all along. I know. John, you don't like the idea of using Gorns. I love it. I love that they take an existing thing and they're going to flesh it out rather than bringing in a whole new alien race or whatever. I like that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, except they're not Gorn.
Well, this is what it's going to hinge on. If they show us, and I'll say it right now, if they show us a Gorn elder or a captain or something, they've got to be like, when they're old, they're slow moving things. Like it's like a different kind of cast. It's a different life cycle or something. But if they just make them like they're these zippy, like fast alien things, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're that smart though.
But they got starships.
That'd be awesome though. That it's a story point, right? And then some guy lumbering around, and there's all these babies running around him on the ship.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. But they're not that smart.
I thought you meant the Gorn are not that smart. I said, no, Larry.
No.
They have starships.
Akiva's probably a Gorn.
Yeah, they could bring. See,
Yikes.
Yeah. Because I really, that's probably the thing I disliked the most. It wasn't even that they are changing the Gorn. It's just that they so blatantly rip off Alien to do so.
Yeah, it's real blatant.
It's disrespectful. It's plagiarism, in my opinion. I don't know how you call it anything else but plagiarism, unless I don't know what makes it homage. I don't know what takes it to homage, because we recognize it instantaneously, so much so that we're like, oh my God, that is so sickeningly obvious. But is Alien even in the consciousness of today's young fan, like Walker?
Well, I have a Dallas's environment suit in my office, so like he's up to date on Alien. He loves
yeah.
So, but I can't speak. I don't think his buddies.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I don't think they care. It's anything. If you're a teenager right now, why in God's name do you give a shit about anything that happened in the last 15 years or before? Right?
You don't.
You just don't. There's so much content to go through pop culturally.
Yeah.
Like there's a kid in our street that likes baseball, and all the other kids are like, oh yeah, good luck going to that baseball game. Right? Can you imagine that? like nobody, there's just so much other stuff for kids to be doing that nobody has a shared experience anymore.
It is wild.
To the point where it's a fucking big deal that Barbie made $1 billion. Are you joking? Is there a toy on this planet that not every little kid doesn't know about except Barbie? Of course that movie made $1 billion.
Right.
Because that's a shared experience, right?
Well, Coppola was like, oh, hooray, Oppenheimer and Barbie are saving cinema. And I go look, dude, okay, yeah, those made money, and they're not a franchise in that they're not sequels, but they're both completely nostalgia-bound IP.
Oh yeah,
Barbie more than Oppenheimer, obviously, but even
Oppenheimer. We bombed Japan. Oh, what? Let's have another movie. That was great.
The Oppenheimer extended universe.
I would absolutely watch the Oppenheimer extended universe. Bring in all the directors, do all the World War II movies, World War II science movies. I am 100% in.
Let's get that Captain America team up, and I'll go see it.
Well, I haven't
give me those German rockets. Come on.
And I haven't seen Barbie yet, but everything I hear such wild, varying takes on it that I'm excited to see it. And I think that
dude, you're gonna love it.
I think the only reason that, but it is just a nostalgia toy property, and all we're gonna get out of that is Hungry Hungry Hippos, the movie, or something stupid like that.
No.
This had a point and some substance to it, from what I understand.
Did you see that rock movie Rampage? Just a giant albino gorilla,
with The Rock,
Yeah.
Okay,
It's based on a video game.
True.
But it has no plot, right? It's just you're destroying these giant things that are crawling on buildings. So that movie, up until now, was the best video game movie ever because it was an entertaining film, right? Okay, it has The Rock in it. That's already did half the stuff, but there's no plot for people to go, well, this isn't like the Rampage game, so fuck this, and I think that that's the thing with Barbie is that there's a plot and they're making an awesome, funny point, and there's lots of shit that they point out weird marketing things in the Barbie toy stuff. So if you had a sister, like you are completely aware that there was a Ken with an earring, and there was a pregnant Barbie, and everybody knows who Skipper was because that's the one that all the like younger girls got for their birthday, and they were like, "Fuck you, I want a Barbie." No, you get Skipper because you have an older. Like, I know all that shit just because I had a sister, and they just turned all that up to 11 in the movie, and it's great. Alan's played by Michael Cera, so you know who Alan is. That's perfect casting. The rest of the movie's in good hands.
It's really the feminism subtext that I'm most interested in checking out too, because I hear such wild things. A lot of feminists thought it was not good that I listened to on YouTube, and so I'm really interested to see the like.
I can't speak to any of that stuff because as soon as you have Dennis Miller going, "I'm a feminist," like what does being a feminist means anymore? You know, so like, all right. I just talked to friends, and like my kid, a 16-year-old boy, has seen Barbie 4 times. So
wow,
what's that tell you, right? He just keeps going with his buddies, and they make fun of it. And every once in a while, they go with somebody else, and then they get mad because they're making fun of Barbie. And it's like, well, no, that's a completely legit experience with that, because the whole thing is a satire. Like, but that the genius of good satire is you can take that 100% seriously and still get value out of that.
Yeah.
So that's why you're getting people going all over.
Well, that's what I like about it. I feel like people are misunderstanding.
That's
a
great movie, if you ask me.
It's a Starship Troopers type situation where people aren't even really understanding what they're seeing necessarily. Yeah, and they're not liking it for like the wrong reasons.
I think it's worse though, because I think many more people are much more stupid than when Starship Troopers was out.
Is that true?
Because you could
We're
tell
definitely
somebody,
dumber.
Is
look,
that true?
This is a Paul Verhoeven thing, and he's known for fighting social satire. And you will get 1 out of 10 people going, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, thank you for telling me that. I didn't realize that. That changes my mind a little." That just never happens now. Like, you would be halfway through that sentence, and people are like, no, but it was awful. Barbie said vagina. I can't have that in my Barbie movie. You know, okay, I can't have a conversation with you if that was your takeaway from that entire 3-hour movie.
Well, I feel like you couldn't make Starship Troopers the way Verhoeven did. Like you could,
you don't.
But I wonder what the response would be, because there were those people that didn't get it. That were the troopers were the heroes. They loved it because it was a badass action movie, and the bad guys were the bugs. And we beat the bugs, right?
The studio didn't get it. They were making toys and shit. They were like, be a mobile marine. Yeah. Like,
service equals citizenship.
Right.
That's
I had Starship Trooper toys. They were awesome. You could like shoot stuff, you know. They were just rip off G.I. Joes. It was great.
And that one was like what the special effects guy, I think it was Winston who did it, Stan Winston who did it, and he couldn't do Jurassic Park, and so he went on to do that, and it was amazing for its time because it's so early and it completely holds up. Like all of the shots
totally holds up.
Complete in a way that movies from 5 or 10 years ago don't hold up.
You know why? Because now you do CG, and there was a lot.
It was the combo of puppetry.
There was a lot of practical stuff blowing up and buckets of blood being thrown on people, and real amputees like going here, put this on, so it looks like your arm got blown up.
True.
Your diabetes.
But the CG was also very good for the time and held up in a way that's weird. It does, a lot of that stuff doesn't, especially with creature effects and stuff like that. So kudos. Anyway. We all know Starship Troopers is actually my hidden inspiration. I think it's the greatest thing. Only since watching this show, only since being on this show, did I read Starship Troopers, and I go like, it is one of the greatest books I've ever read.
Wow. I knew what he was doing, huh?
Island's a good guy.
It is amazing. Even though he's wrong, he clearly had a thing he was trying to lay out. He was doing something way different from what we're used to in a science fiction.
How wrong are you if you're right writing right before Vietnam War, though. That's pretty cool. Or am I confused now with Joe Haldeman's Forever War? I don't know. There's a couple like really Vietnam War, World War II satires in science fiction that are just very powerful.
Well, this is like you read this and you come away going like Heinlein was a borderline fascist in his beliefs. Like
Borderline?
Yeah, I mean, not even borderline. Like,
True.
right, he believed in
Yeah.
a militaryocracy, whatever you want to call that. Although he backpedaled a little bit, supposedly in the later years. But if you read that book, man, it's all there. It's really great. I want to see somebody do a faithful adaptation. I think it could be like a right-wing conservative thing to do, like a faithful Starship Troopers. You know what I mean? 'Cause it
Yeah.
would really live up to those values.
Some studios got that wrapped up though.
But they don't understand satire or subtleness or anything. It would be a horrible movie.
I mean, that's the amazing thing. That's the beauty of Verhoeven getting it, who obviously he said he didn't really read the book much, but he did. But it is obviously a total reaction to the philosophy of the book as opposed to a representation of it. And so it was brilliant, subversively brilliant.
I can't wait till Dan reads another book.
I don't have another sci-fi book to read.
I'll get you something.
There's nothing worth. I'm going back. Oh, here's the one I want to read. Gladiator.
Yeah, you don't want to read that.
Is it good?
Read Jerry
Russell
Pournelle's Lucifer's Hammer. That's the next one you want to read after Starship Troopers.
Gladiator is the one that supposedly Siegel and Schuster based Superman on. And it's like it's one that's like I've never even seen a copy.
Didn't the same guy write Buck Rogers that wrote that?
I don't know. I want to say Philip Wiley, but I might be wrong about that.
Oh, I think you're right. But I think that's the same guy, isn't it? Philip Wiley did.
Could be.
Did Buck Rogers. Let me look that up. Gladiator novel.
Yeah, and I really actually want to go back to
Philip Wiley.
I want to go back more to the seminal stuff like that and H.P. Lovecraft and that stuff that I've never really. I've read all the like third generation or a lot of the third or fourth generation like copies of that stuff, but I want to read I never read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
What?
Yeah, I just never did. Or Bram Stoker's or Dracula.
Dracula is basically a cyberpunk novel. That Dracula is, when you read it, you're going to be, what the fuck, really? Like, people don't remember that Van Helsing, the hunter, is doing, instead of journaling, he's actually recording the events of the novel into a tape recorder. And it just seems so anachronistic to when you're reading it in high school. Like, how is this fucking possible? That it starts to read like a science fiction book until you start realizing, like, no, it's just Bram Stoker was reading Wired of his day and just extrapolating stuff. but we're so used to
Wired.
It's true, man. I mean, he was a researcher.
Okay, so wait a minute, guys. I know Larry's got to get bail pretty.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
Early.
I got to split.
Okay, I have one thing I want to ask, guys. I mean, we could do it next week too, but like maybe think about it if you don't have a good answer. But what is the episode you want to see out of Strange New Worlds?
I just want some strange new worlds and some new life and new.
Agreed.
But think about it. Every episode is, hey, there's something in the nebula that's trying to communicate with us.
Yes.
It's fucking 3 episodes this season.
Agreed.
Like, I just want something new. I want some science fiction, and come on. Do your job.
I want a land on a planet where you land on a weird planet and the planet is like X genre of something. You know what I mean? If they're gonna do the Nazi episode or a piece of the action,
gangster planet.
Yeah, right. I want one of those. And I thought of maybe the one that I want to see is I want to see one where a world has been like getting old television signals from Earth, and their whole culture is based around like 50s TV or 60s TV or something like that.
Really? Go watch WandaVision.
I know. Well, that's what I'd like. I want to see that in a Star Trek,
man.
But then do it on 80s TV or 70s TV, and really lampoon a lot of the cool science fiction stuff from the 70s.
I'm with Hector, man. Like, this is a joke in our house now. about tragic backstory, we'll be watching something else, right? An old episode of Castle or some shit, and they'll just go, "Oh, yeah, just so you guys know, my character my mother was killed, and that's an overarching mythology for the show." And my kid will just go, "Tragic backstory," and it's just, don't do that.
You mean Mbenga? You don't like Mbenga's new
I
shell
don't think
shock?
every character needs it, right? They saddled Pike with it. They saddle Lon with it. They saddle Mbenga with it. Which, by the way, does no one over there fucking have a Star Trek on VHS or DVD or Blu-ray where no one says M Benga? It's not M fucking Benga, like
It's
M3
not.
Green in the David Gerald Ben episode of the cartoon, which I know because I watched it. Do you guys know there's a Star Trek cartoon that's not Lower Decks where they know how to pronounce people's names? Like
It's
Starrat,
Mbenga.
Mbenga. It's
Mbenga.
Mbenga. How hard is
Mbenga.
that?
Mbenga.
It's got a thing in there, and then there's no vowel, and it's probably an African dialect, and so it's Mbenga, right? That's what we're going with. That's how is this a surprise to everyone when one of the fucking characters you have to talk to, the other character does not know how to pronounce his name?
He's still
In
my
a-
favorite. He's still my favorite character.
In a show where they have a scene where it's like, one is my name, the other is not. I'm fucking Data, not Data, right? That's a fucking story point in Star Trek. So do they have to do that in every episode?
Okay, Larry, this
Ah,
is your
anyway.
white privilege coming through because nobody's ever seen your fucking name on a roll call and been like, "How do you pronounce this? Is it Yuung? Is it Yulung?"
That's-
Like, dude, look at Shaheen.
If
I've
if Dr.
constantly
McCoy
mispronounced.
can say it, if Leonard McCoy can properly say the guy's
Right.
name,
Right,
Come on.
fucking racist redneck doctor.
That was
from
just his
down
drawl.
south.
the
Leave
guy
him
who
alone. Hey,
says
colleague.
Gumatsu, get out of here.
His southern drawl, apostrophes are a natural fit for that kind of southern drawl, so it's okay. Well,
Look
wait a
what
minute.
Hector
So
started.
that's what so that's what I want. Is I want an old fashioned. I guess that's what that episode was. Kind of the Cage reference one was a good old fashioned, like there's been an influence on this planet that we have to
Yeah.
come and see. Like, I love that stuff. And honestly, how would you square the Prime Directive with if a culture just like received signals from Earth and like based things off of that? That's not direct. We didn't directly interfere. And to like remove it might be to directly interfere with their culture.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
a-
It's just interesting.
No, that's
ethical
a short
question.
episode. Oh, we've contaminated this planet, but it was 200 years ago. We better just leave this alone because that's part of their normal outreach now that they fucking know what Gilligan's Island is. Those poor people. So
Right,
that's
but they're
another
like-
thing. You're
but
just
they look
doing
at
the fucking tragic backstory of the guys from.
But they go like Fox News is about to be introduced in 3 years, and that's gonna destroy their society or whatever media trend.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
You're not buying it. I'm pitching. You guys are not swinging.
I just would tell you what I want to do or what I want to see from Strange New Worlds, except I just would write it something else. and change
Chris
everybody's name.
Sagasog, nice deep cut of what he.
Speaking of not pronouncing people's names correctly,
What am I gonna do?
Sagasog.
Chris,
it's
Chris
the
feels-
Gweesig.
All right, Chris, you feel.
But
me,
you know what?
right?
I've known that guy
Is
for
it?
10 years, and he told me that recently, and I'm like, sorry, man, you're Sagasag forever. You had your chance to tell us.
Sagasag sounds cool.
Sagasag
a
sounds like,
cool name.
hey, this is my buddy Sagasag.
Sagasag. And he's
Christopher
got,
Sigweesig sounds like somebody you owe money to.
Sagwisig.
I heard his
Yeah, I
great
don't
grandfather
know. I don't like
founded the union. That's where SAG. No, okay, wait a minute. We got any SAG strike talk before we go, guys? Any strike?
Everybody is super pissed at Robert Beltran, Chakotay, because he was breaking the rules
I
by
think that's
saying
hilarious.
character names and like show names and stuff. And the host repeatedly tried to get him to stop. Other people tried to get him to stop, and all the people on Twitter who are so invested in the strike as fans that everyone's like, "Oh, Robert Beltran sucks now. I hate him."
Yeah, that's the worst thing
That's
about
it.
Star
That's
Trek
my
fans.
news.
What's
Like,
your
what
take?
the-
What? Yeah.
Why do you have anything?
My
to say about that?
my take is I'm sick of this fucking strike bullshit. The
Mm.
things they write aren't good enough for me to care if they get paid or not. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I have
ooh,
17
hot
new
take.
shows that have been 17 shows that have been released in the last 2 years that I haven't seen yet. So I'm good. Yep.
All right, guys, I got to split. I'm really sorry.
Sorry, man.
Okay. That's
No,
all right.
no, go ahead. You guys do your thing, and I'll
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm
can
gonna
watch
get
the rest of it.
I'm gonna bail pretty soon too, but I do want to say I think after the season finale, I'm canceling Paramount again, and I might cancel all my streamers except for YouTube.
All right, I got to split, guys. Thanks. That was an awesome show.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
There, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, one more shout out to this episode. Was all about David Porter. I want to thank him, and condolences go out to his family and his friends and anybody who knew him. If you go back and watch pretty much any episode of this show, his comments will be featured heavily, usually from the very beginning to the very end of the show, dude. And like, other than Sug, there's not too many more hardcore, serious Star Trek fans out there. So thanks for watching.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a comic book show this Thursday. I don't know if Larry's gonna be there or not. And then next Tuesday we'll have a show. We got to talk about the finale for sure.
Oh, definitely.
I might be late to that one. But it's gonna start at the same time. But John, I know that it'll be Tuesday. I know that it'll be 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. But where do you think that thing's gonna go? Where do you think that thing's gonna go down?
I think it's gonna go down on my iPhone.
Probably.
Yep. Because
because it'll definitely go down on the internet. See you next time.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, gangs invaded our neighborhood, and they made life pretty tough on the rest of us. So I decided the best way to fight a gang was to join one. Well, not just anyone, but the biggest one in the city. Well, these guys taught me a lot, like how to survive in tough situations, how to handle almost anything or anyone. Joining a gang was probably the best thing I ever did. And after all these years, the old gang is still going strong. So join our gang, the Boy Scouts.